is completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or
with the
no,
money
did
that
you
we
lead
had.
an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or
leadership
no,
has
did you
been
lead an audit?
stated
Yes or
has
no?
been completely
What are you afraid of? You
mischaracterized.
can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator,
yes
every
or
part
no?
of my leadership
yes
of these
or no?
organizations
yes
has
or
been
no, did you lead an audit?
misrepresented
I will
from
take
top
that as
to
a no.
bottom.
What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you?
Welcome to the harshest reality of the United States Senate. What you just witnessed wasn't a partisan shouting match, but a matter of vital national security scrutiny. Senator Tammy Duckworth just performed a ruthless dissection of Pete Hegseth's career, the man vying for the most powerful seat at the Pentagon. Let's get straight to the heart of the matter. We are talking about a nominee preparing to take over an $825 billion defense budget and the most complex military network in history. Yet, when Senator Duckworth asked a fundamentally basic yes or no, the question regarding his financial competence, whether he had ever led an audit at his former, merely 200-person organization, Pete Hegseth was completely flustered and evasive. Failing to provide transparency on a minuscule financial record is a blaring red siren. If you cannot manage risk on standard accounting paperwork, you are absolutely unqualified to handle life or death crises in the Situation Room. Hegseth's chasm of incompetence doesn't stop at numbers. Duckworth goes on to expose an alarming geopolitical blind spot. A Secretary of Defense must be intimately familiar with the map of global alliances. Yet, Hegseth confidently lumped South Korea, Japan, and Australia into ASEAN. This was no slip of the tongue. It is glaring proof of his profound ignorance regarding the Indo-Pacific, the United States' most critical strategic front. This hearing goes far beyond the debate over women in combat that Hegseth uses as a smokescreen. Through her own blood and sacrifice, Senator Duckworth exposed the ultimate hypocrisy, demanding young troops adhere to grueling life-and-death standards, while simultaneously forcing the Senate to lower the standards of expertise for the man who wants to command them. Keep watching until the end, because the moment Duckworth uses the soldier's creed to deliver the finishing blow to Hegseth is truly a masterclass in congressional oversight. Let's dive deep into each piece of the ultimate receipt.
Any sense that the Department of Defense that keeps us safe is being steered by someone who's wholly unprepared for the job puts America at risk, and I am not willing to do that. With that in mind, Mr. Hegseth, I want you to try to explain to the American people, this committee, who have to vote for you, and to our troops who are deployed around the world, why you are qualified to lead the Department of Defense. We already know that you've only led the largest, a 200-person organization. We already know that you so badly mangled a budget that after you left, they had to bring in a forensic accountant to figure out what went wrong. And that the largest budget you ever managed was about $18 billion. You know, that is about 51,560 times lower than the Department of Defense budget of $825 billion. $16 million is 51,568 times smaller than the defense budget. Please describe to me, Mr. Hegseth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Please describe to me a time or an organization when that you led underwent an audit, because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant. I want you to
look at this surgical strike by Duckworth. She doesn't attack his political ideology. She uses math and reality to dismantle the nominee, managing $18 million and leaving behind a mess that required a forensic accountant to clean up is a corporate disaster. But putting that individual at the apex of an $825 billion machine, where every wrong decision is paid for with lives and national security, is no longer just a gamble. It is an act of ultimate irresponsibility by the appointment system. The Pentagon doesn't run on campaign slogans or fiery television speeches. It runs on supply chains, on budgets that must be accurate down to the penny to ensure our Marines don't run short of ammo or body armor on the battlefield. Hegseth's evasion of a basic yes or no question exposes more than just a gap in expertise. It shows he has zero comprehension of the true weight of the word accountability. Anyone who has ever worked in government knows you don't need to be an accountant, but you must know how to provide guidance to auditors. Answering there were no findings because I've never led an audit is the clearest confession of managerial impotence.
And depth of knowledge. Right now, I am concerned that you have neither. Mr. Hegseth, what is the highest level of international negotiations that you have engaged in, that you have led in? Because the Secretary of Defense does lead international security negotiations. There are three main ones that the Secretary of Defense leads and signs. Can you name at least one of them?
Could you repeat the question, Senator?
Sure. What is the highest level of international security agreement that you have led? And can you name some that the Secretary of Defense would lead? There's three main ones. Do you know?
I have not been involved in international security arrangements because I have not been in government other than serving in the military. So my job has been to
no, the
lead
answer is no.
men and
Can you
women in
name one of the
combat.
three main ones that the
You're
Secretary
talking
of
about
Defense
defense
signs?
arrangements. I mean, NATO might be one that you're referring to.
Status of Forces Agreement would be one of them.
Status of Forces Agreement. I've been a part of teaching about Status of Forces Agreements.
But you don't
inside
remember to
Afghanistan.
mention it? You're not qualified, Mr. Hegseth. You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. You could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations
because
in
you're
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to
allies
do-
in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, and trying to work
Okay.
on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hegseth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those three countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Listen, Mr. Hegseth, we ask our troops to go into harm's way all the time.
This is the moment that must have sent a cold sweat down the spine of any international ally watching. Pete Hegseth is completely clueless about core security treaties and makes an irredeemable geographical error. Placing South Korea, Japan, and Australia into ASEAN isn't a stutter. It is a void of diplomatic knowledge regarding the Indo-Pacific. When you sit in the Secretary of Defense's chair, you must know core treaties like the Status of Forces Agreement or the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement, ACSA, like the back of your hand. Hegseth was entirely in the dark. Worse, the nominee's blatant confusion, confidently placing Japan, South Korea, and Australia in ASEAN, wasn't a stress-induced gaffe. It is a total bankruptcy of geostrategic thinking in the most sensitive theater in the world right now. When the future Secretary of Defense of the United States doesn't even grasp the map of alliances, our adversaries will start testing the waters, and our allies will quietly begin seeking backup plans. The Senate exists to serve as a shield against these knowledge disasters. Telling a cabinet nominee to go do a little homework is a humiliation of national proportions, proving that political power can never cover up a total vacuum of actual competence.
We ask them to go into harm's way. And this behind me is a copy of the Soldier's Creed, a copy that usually hangs over my desk here in the Senate, and you should be familiar with it. It's the same copy that hung over my desk at Walter Reed every single day that I woke up and fought my way back because I wanted to go back and serve next to my buddies who'd saved my life. This same copy, these words are repeated over and over and over again. And let me read out two things to you, two sentences. I will always place the mission first, and I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior task. Mr. Hegseth, our troops follow these words every single day, and they man up and they pack their rucksacks and they go to war. And they deserve a leader who can lead them, not a leader who wants to lower the standards for himself or raising the standards for other people. And by the way, our troops already meet the standards. We ask troops to man that ship, fight that fire, fly that helicopter until their very last breath. And they do that every single day. They cannot be led by someone who's not competent to do the job. How can we ask these warriors to train and perform the absolute highest standards when you are asking us to lower the standards to make you the Secretary of Defense simply because you are buddies with our president-elect? And by the way, he has filed for bankruptcy 6 times. I'm not quite sure he's the kind of CEO you want to refer to as a successful businessman. Let me make it clear. You can't seem to grasp that there is no U.S. military as we know it without the incredible women that we serve. Women who've earned their place in their units. You have not earned your place as Secretary of Defense. You say you care about keeping our armed forces strong and that you like that our armed forces are meritocracy, then let's not lower the standards for you. You, sir, are a no-go at this station.
When Duckworth mentioned Walter Reed Hospital, where she fought for her life after leaving her legs on the battlefield, the air in the room completely changed. All of Mr. Hegseth's defenses were crushed. What is the ultimate paradox, she exposed. We are bleeding our young soldiers dry, demanding they adhere to the strictest life-or-death standards to protect the mission. Yet here sits a man asking the Senate to lower the standards of expertise so he can be their boss, simply because he is friends with the president. The final verdict. You, sir, are a no-go at this station. That carries the weight of a commanding officer rejecting an unqualified recruit. It strips away all political sophistry. The rule of the game is very simple. Soldiers' lives are not currency to pay off political favors. Leave a comment below and let me know, do you agree with Senator Duckworth's no-go verdict? And does someone who can't even distinguish between allied blocs deserve to hold the keys to the Pentagon? Let's name and shame those who dare to disrespect the sanctity of the Constitution.